Welcome to beautiful Colorado Springs, and we're here live with our very first broadcast of Adaptive Warrior. We'll be here all week at the United States Olympic Training Center.
I'm here inside the arena where the place is starting to get packed and people are struggling to find seats for the 2014 Warrior Games opening ceremonies. For everybody back at home, keep your seats because we're going to be bringing you the action live in just a minute.
Thank you all so much for joining us here live at the United States Olympic Training Center here in Colorado Springs. I'm here with Secretary Wright. Thank you so much for joining us, ma'am.
Brandy, it's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
And now you've been here last year, but for those of you who have never seen the Warrior Games before, who have never had the pleasure of joining us here, we have a little bit of a video to show you about the events and what's going on. So let's take a look. Now, for those of you who don't know, you are the Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel and Readiness, correct?
Yes, I am.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Department of Defense's role in Warrior Games and adaptive sports?
Well, our wounded care policy run by Daz D. Rodriguez is responsible for our adaptive sports program. And truly what it does is it helps a service member heal. It helps a service member get back into life with resiliency. It teaches them spiritual resiliency. It teaches them physical resiliency, psychological resiliency. It's a phenomenal program.
Now, we have care for our soldiers, sailors, our service members who are overseas, who get injured or wounded or face some sort of obstacle. We have care over there. And then when they come home, we have care for them here. But what about when they get back into the community? Like, that's truly what adaptive sports is all about. So can you tell us a little bit why, in your opinion, we want to focus more on the adaptive sports and the resiliency of our forces?
Well, what we do is, you know, when a soldier is wounded, ill, or injured, their life changes completely. And I say soldier, you'll have to excuse me, Brandy, because I've been a soldier for a long time. But when a service member is wounded or ill or injured, it does change their life. And so we need to show them that they are clearly America's best, that they are our heroes, and that they have so much worth to give to this nation. And adaptive sports does that for them. It gives them another meaning for reason.
Okay, and we're going to see so many sports, from sitting volleyball to archery to swimming. Are there any type of adaptive sports out there that we're not going to be seeing today?
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, if you saw the ones, the clip that we just shown, they are all over the map. I think the only one that we may not see is wheelchair rugby. Wheelchair rugby was played during the Invictus Games, and our team played, and they did a very good job. I think the Brits beat them, but they've been playing wheelchair rugby for a much longer period of time, and I think we are going to beat them the next time that we have that particular game. But that probably is the only sport that's not going to be here during these summer months.
Okay. And what do you hope for everyone watching, our audience out there, to gain from this whole experience, this whole Warrior Games experience?
I hope they understand that we send these young men and women overseas to war, that they get injured at times, and some of them catastrophically injured, and that we need to take care of them. They are America's best. This is the best part of the game. You will see all kinds of sports, but frankly, the warriors and the family members are the best part of the games.
Absolutely. And is there anything else that you would like to add, maybe a shout out to our service members or something to say to our audience, ma'am?
I really want to say a shout out to the Olympic Committee and Charlie Hubner. He has been phenomenal. And I want to say a shout out to Deloitte, who is one of the main sponsors. Without them, we couldn't do this. And clearly a shout out to the family members that help our service members and those that are presently serving in distant lands far from home. Thank you all.
Well, Madam Secretary, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you joining us here.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And we have Sergeant Ising, who is actually inside the opening ceremonies. Sergeant Ising, how are things going in there?
Excuse me for holding my ear. I'm having a hard time hearing because we've got bands playing and people are just absolutely excited, so it is super loud in here. I've got the Chief of Staff of the Air Force walking right behind me, but you guys can see that in the stands across from me that the services, like their fans, are starting to break up by color. You can see that the Air Force is there in blue, the Marines are there in red, the Navy's there in yellow, and the Army's there in black. And just everybody's just, I can tell, is pumped up because a lot of these family members have been pretty much waiting for this day because their family members have been giving so much to prepare for this day. They've been training hard for almost a year just preparing for this moment. So the excitement is pouring all over the place.
We are so excited to see the opening ceremonies, and we have so much more coming up on Adaptive Sports, so stay tuned. All right, welcome back to Adaptive Warrior. I'm here with the Master Chief Petty Officer in the Navy, Mike Stevens. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me, Petty Officer Willis. Thank you.
And what made you want to come to Warrior Games this year?
Well, you know, I think it's important to take the opportunity to come out here and recognize these champions. Warrior Games is something that I would say that if anybody has a chance to come out and be involved in, they should take that opportunity to represent the members that are here, represent their service, to shake hands, to say thank you, and get to know some of these people personally.
Absolutely. It's a wonderful day out here, too. I mean, you're about to go inside to the opening ceremonies and be a part of it, but you've met with all the teams already, correct?
No, actually, I haven't had the opportunity. We got here last night, showed up here today, so later on I'll be able to meet with members of the teams, which I'm real excited about doing, because I know that I'm going to be a better person for having had the experience.
And for the average sailor out there who may be tuning in on defense.gov or seeing this on AFN, you know, why should a fleet sailor really be concerned with Warrior Games or adaptive sports and what it represents?
Well, number one, they're one of us. We're all one big family. Regardless of what service you're in, regardless of what you do in that service, in the end, every one of these members have risen their right hand and swore an oath to this country. So we are brothers and sisters in arms, and we owe one another that mutual respect to come out here to say hi, to see how they're doing, let them know that we care about them and that we love them, and we appreciate all that they've done for their country and continue to do for their country and their services.
Absolutely. Now, how do the Warrior Games, everything that's happening today here, how does it fit into the overall framework of support that we provide to our individual sailors and service members as a whole?
Well, as I said before, we're all family, and it's important that we take the opportunity to come out here and show them how much their contribution to the services mean to all of us. And if we don't do it, who will? Mm-hmm. You know, we have great citizen volunteers out there, but if we don't do it as service members, then who will? Somebody has to say, I'm going. Someone has to show up, and someone has to be involved. And whether you're here physically, or whether you're watching, or whether you're contributing in some other way in your local bases or local communities, it's important to contribute.
And to go on a lighter note, you're about to go inside into the opening ceremonies, and you know, what do you just hope to get out of this whole experience?
Well, I gotta admit that I'm a little selfish, because I've been here before, and I know one of the things that I'm going to receive is motivation. They're going to encourage me. They're going to not just encourage me, but all of us that watch. And you cannot come here and be a part of this and not get something out of it, and you will leave here a better person for having had the experience. So a little bit of it is selfish. I'm hoping to feed off of their energy, and they inspire me, and I look forward to the opportunity to be with them today.
Yeah, they're truly some of the most inspiring people I've ever had the opportunity to speak with and meet. And McPon, we're going to let you go ahead and get inside, but I just want to thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you very much. Go Navy.
All right. And Sergeant Ising, speaking of getting inside, how are things in there?
Hey, thank you so much, MC1. Things are crazy in here. I actually got my friend here, Steve Murray, here with me to talk about what's going on in here. So how are you involved with this whole program?
I represent Deloitte. We're the title sponsor for the Warrior Games, our 5th year in a row.
Okay. And I understand that you are a wounded warrior yourself.
I am. Navy retired, 25 years, Afghanistan, 3 tours.
How does it feel for, as an ex-wounded warrior like yourself, to see an event like this to be so big and so huge?
It's motivating. You look around, all these wounded warriors. This is bringing everyone together, family, friends, comrades. That's what it's all about.
Okay, so I know I probably don't have to ask, but which team are you rooting for?
Navy, Navy, Navy. Go Navy!
All right, go Navy, go Navy. Back to you up there, MC1.
Thanks so much, Sergeant Ising. We will have so much more coming up in the opening ceremonies. Just a minute, so everyone stay tuned. And actually, we're going to go ahead and we're going to roll a piece. It talks about Warrior Games and what it takes to get here, so let's just go ahead and take a look.
Beyond to me is going outside the boundaries, going further than the realm of possibility. For me, I need to go beyond this injury. Not just accepting the road that we've been given, but going beyond that road. Taking that road and riding it as far as we can and reaching as many people as we can to show them that everything is going to be okay.
At the beginning, you always hear, just take that step, one more step. And for a long time for me, it was, how do you want me to take another step when I only have one foot? And I had to look deep within myself to realize that I could take that next step, that it was going to take a lot of hard work for me to do it. Being able to push past that resistance, running down those paths, those roads, those trails, we adapt to our environment, to our situations. We move forward because that's who we are.
It definitely isn't reaching that accepted level. And it isn't going past the limits or the goals that other people set for you. I think it's going past the goals that I set for myself. One of the guys one day was saying, if a magical fairy showed up and said, I can take it all back, I can take you back to when you got injured or when you got sick, and I can restart your life right there, make it so that that never happened, what would you do? Would you accept the offer? Hell no, I'd punch that fairy in the face.
We'll be here every day at 1500 Eastern Time with more Adaptive Warrior. We'll be recounting the day's events from the previous day. We'll be talking to special guests every day. So please tune in and just see what all the excitement is about every day here at 1500. And we're going to go inside to the Olympic Training Center now for the opening ceremony. So thank you all for tuning in.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Vice President of the Olympic and Paralympic Foundation, Mr. Charlie Hubner.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the United States Olympic Committee, welcome to Colorado Springs, welcome to the U.S. Olympic Training Center, and welcome to the 2014 Warrior Games presented by Deloitte. So a little bit about this place before we get into the formal program. So you are, the Olympic Training Center is formerly Ent Air Force Base. Major General Ent, interestingly enough, was a bomber pilot, injured in service to his country. And back in the 1940s, he was champion for being somebody that used physical activity and sport in his rehabilitation. So we're here at Ent Air Force Base in Colorado Springs, now the Olympic Training Center, and very, very proud to be hosting the Warrior Games. So anybody that unfortunately knows me knows that if I get a microphone in my hand, I tend to take a couple liberties. So I'd like to, we are a sport organization, so I would like to take my first liberty. Madison and Riley, I wanted to let you know, those are my daughters, that the Green Bay Packers beat the Chicago Bears today. Tom Lacrosse, that was for you. Janet Foudy from Deloitte, I am very, very sorry about your loss. Okay, so the U.S. Olympic Committee has two missions. One, we want to be the best in the world at Olympic and Paralympic sport. This facility helps train some of those athletes that represent us from all over the United States. And you're going to meet a couple of young men that are our honorary torchbearers today that pursued that level of excellence and achieved it. But we also have a second mission. The second part of our mission is to inspire Americans. And in the Paralympic space, it's even more important because in this country, there's a great need for physical activity and sport programs in communities all over the U.S. for persons with physical disabilities. That need became even greater after 9/11. I have 3 pages of names of corporate, government, nonprofit, and community leaders with us today. And I want to especially talk about community leaders from Colorado Springs. This community cares so much about young men and women that serve. So I'm asking for your support so we can ensure that the volleyball game between the Army and the Air Force starts on time. That I'd like to recognize all of those leaders collectively as opposed to introducing them individually with one liberty. I would like to introduce the Air Force Chief of Staff, member of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Welsh and his wife who are with us today. And I want to thank all the leaders in the room that have collaborated with the United States Olympic Committee and all the different organizations that support young men and women that serve. As a nonprofit, the U.S. Olympic Committee is the only privately funded Olympic movement in the world. Our partners allow us to provide programs to U.S. athletes all over the United States, including supporting the Warrior Games, which is 75% privately funded. I want to, we're a sport organization, so we give high fives. So I'd love to give a high five to some of those partners that are with us today. First and foremost, Deloitte, the presenting sponsor of the Warrior Games. And I'll go through the others if we can hold applause until I recognize all of these incredible investors in you. Fisher House Foundation, I know CEO Dave Coker is here with us. The Daniels Fund, I know Debbie Pierce is here with us today. The El Pomar Foundation, one of the reasons that the U.S. Olympic Committee is in Colorado Springs today. Mr. Bill Hibble, I believe, is with us. The Semper Fi Fund. I will let the Marines go loose. Semper Fi Fund. Founder Karen Gunther is with us today. BP, just an incredible partner, and CEO John Minji and his wife are with us today. We've done this event in collaboration with the Department of Defense, and there's a lot of leaders from the Department of Defense. You'll hear from one of them, but I do want to give a shout out to my Green Bay Packer buddy, Tom Lacrosse, for his ongoing support. And one of the founding partners of the Warrior Games, you'll hear from their CEO today, the USO. So the Olympic Games, the Paralympic Games, the Warrior Games are about athletes. So let's meet the athletes of the 2014 Warrior Games. Let's begin with the Army.
How we doing, Bob?
The Marines. Oh. Welcome the Navy. Welcome the Air Force. And welcome the Special Operations Command. Ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you please stand or come to attention. for the marching on of the colors by the NORAD Northcom Joint Color Guard, and please remain standing or at attention for the playing of the national anthem performed by Kat Struess, Lieutenant Colonel, United States Air Force.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
At all games in the Olympic and Paralympic movement, we always start those games with the lighting of the torch. And we decided this year, after 5 years of having contingency plans to deal with weather in Colorado, to bring that ceremony inside and outside with a little bit of live TV. And every year we've identified individuals that have really kind of been the breath of what we do every day in the Paralympic movement and what you do in service and in what's called warrior care. And I can think of no better representatives of that spirit and excellence than our two honorary torchbearers today. And as we march in here and then as those two individuals march outside, I'll give you a little bit of background about our two honorary torchbearers. But I am really pleased to introduce to you retired Marine Corps Corporal Paul Schaus. Paul? And retired Army Staff Sergeant Rico Roman. So as mentioned, we'll talk a little bit about their story as they march the torch down the path and light it, which you'll be able to watch from my understanding here on the screens. But you guys got a little hardware? Maybe. So these two young men not only served their countries and worked with so many organizations represented today to go through their rehab. I'll take one more liberty. I might get in trouble for this one, but pulling those medals out is a great way to get a drink bought for you, or if you're single, to meet a girl or a guy. Just on the side watching people do it. But I think they just showed you, these two young men and a third, Marine Josh Sweeney, made up the Bravo Delta line. That was the service name for the line that represented our sled hockey team. The meaning behind the line was beat down line, because I guess some Marines and some soldiers like to hit people. And they hit a lot of people in Russia, including the Russians, in a 1-0 gold medal win in front of 4,000 Russians. So we are going to formally begin the torch ceremony now. Carrying the torch for the Army, Frank Barraquero. Carrying the torch for the Marines, Jorge Salazar. Carrying the torch for the Navy, Sharona Young. Carrying the torch for the Air Force, Axel God Torres. And carrying the torch for SOCOM, Doug Franklin. Carrying the torch for Team USA, Paul Schaus. So a little bit about Paul. Earlier we had a gathering with some of the leaders that make this happen. Sponsors, donors, Department of Defense, Department of Veteran Affairs, Veteran Service Organizations. And the theme is this: we can't do this alone. It takes all of these organizations together, to work together, to share together, to help young men and women that dream to go to the Olympics or Paralympics, or that serve their country. It takes everyone together. Paul Schaus, Marine, was injured after an IED blast on a rural patrol in Afghanistan in June 2009. At Walter Reed Bethesda, Paul was introduced to adaptive sport. He was introduced to Paralympic sport. He was introduced to something that he loved because he likes to hit people. he was introduced to sled hockey. But it was organizations. It was the DOD, it was Walter Reed, it was the USA Hockey, it was Semper Fi Fund. All those different organizations allowed him to have a successful rehabilitation, but also allowed him to jump back in life and wear the uniform again. Rico Roman, soldier. Left leg amputated above the knee when wounded by an IED while serving in his third tour in Iraq in February 2007. Rico at Brooke Army was introduced to adaptive sport. USOC employee, Army retired Paralympian John Register was one of the leaders down there getting young men and women utilizing sport as part of their rehab. Brooke touched Rico. The Intrepid Center touched Rico. The USO touched Rico. Operation Comfort, a Paralympic sport club in San Antonio, touched Rico. Rico didn't want to play hockey. It's a funny story. Rico's like, I'm a Hispanic kid. I don't know how to skate. I don't want to play hockey. But the folks in San Antonio kept asking him to come. And Rico liked to play football before his injury. And he came out one day and he got to hit people. And he fell in love with the sport. And he was one of the national ambassadors this year of the Paralympic Games that was featured in national advertisements all over the country about the power of sport, but more importantly about young men and women that serve. So two incredible heroes that have been touched by everybody in this room. Thank you. Please take a seat. So we are here today because of three individuals. Three individuals had an idea, had a vision to create a competition to enhance awareness about the impact and need for more sport programming for injured service members around the United States. Army General Gary Cheek, USO Executive Jeff Hill, and Ride to Recovery founder Jeff Worden just happened 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago, to call an organization that had a little bit of expertise in running sport events and a little bit of expertise in running sports for persons with physical disabilities. 2 weeks ago, Prince Harry and the Royal Foundation concluded the inaugural Invictus Games in London that took General Cheek's vision internationally. True story. Both events were created on a napkin over a beer. True story. And both events have had the incredible guidance and strategic leadership from world-class individuals and a world-class company that has provided us business and strategy advice, not only on the Warrior Games, but in everything we do on a daily basis at the U.S. Olympic Committee. It is my honor to invite to the stage the principal at Deloitte and just a true visionary behind everything we've done at the USOC and within Paralympics, Mr. Mark Goulart.
Thank you, Charlie. Hard to follow that, but I'll try. Good afternoon. Welcome, Secretary Wright, Mr. Crouch, distinguished guests, family members, and of course to all the service members, men and women, and veterans competing in this year's Warrior Games. It is truly an honor to be with you here today. Carpe diem, or seize the day, was a saying used by the late Robin Williams in the critically acclaimed movie, The Dead Poets Society. And in this movie, as the teacher of students at an elite prep school, Robin Williams challenged and encouraged his students to make their lives extraordinary, to seize the moment, to seize the opportunity, to define their future. 5 short years ago, when I spoke at the opening ceremonies of the inaugural Warrior Games, I could not have imagined what this would become. But I can certainly relate to what Robin Williams said about seizing the moment. How far we've come from that simple discussion about how to create an event to promote physical activity for servicemen and women. Today, the Warrior Games, led by the Department of Defense and the U.S. Olympic Committee, is an inspiration to many, has been the subject of numerous documentaries and films, and was recently the motivation behind the Games in London. And along the way, the Warrior Games has become what I believe to be the model of partnership between organizations, government and private, profit and nonprofit, all pulling together to achieve a common vision. This partnership has no doubt created an enduring legacy and a lasting impact for those who have served in this nation's military. The impact, I believe, has been significant. Over the past 5 years, over 2,000 service members and veterans will have competed in the Warrior Games and service branch trials, with, dare I say, thousands more using sports and physical activity as a springboard to recovery. Through the Warrior Games and related initiatives, the participation of wounded, ill, and injured service members and veterans in sport programs has risen by greater than 20%. There are now over 200 Paralympic sport clubs, NGOs, VSOs, universities, and other organizations that now provide Paralympic sport and other activities for injured service members and veterans in their own communities. Each service now has an extensive training program for wounded, ill, and injured service members that enables them to recover, to rehabilitate, and return to an active and physical lifestyle. And finally, the increased focus and dedication of many fine not-profit organizations, many represented here today, working together to provide life cycle support for our recovering servicemen and women. And the list could go on. And I'd like to acknowledge just a few of the individuals and organizations who have led the charge these past few years. First, my Deloitte colleagues and I could not be more privileged and humbled to have worked alongside the U.S. Olympic Committee, as they have hosted these games in a great partnership, and we all know that Charlie Hubner and his team have been the heart and soul of this event. What great partners we've had step up to the plate. The USO, the Fisher House, Team Semper Fi, and others who have all stepped up with their resources to make the family program what it is today. Simply outstanding. And to many of the other business partners like BP, AT&T, Budweiser, and others who have mobilized their teams to support the event, my personal congratulations, appreciation, and hats off to each one of you for your outstanding support. And to the leadership of the Department of Defense, and in particular, I would like to acknowledge as well Mr. Tom Lacrosse and his organization for their long-standing support to the Paralympic military programming. Much of this could not have occurred without Tom's great support. Thank you, Tom. Sincere thanks also goes to the leadership within each of the service branches. You have certainly planned and executed this event well over the past 5 years. You have organized your teams, provided your athletes with extensive training. You have challenged them both individually and as a team to achieve their best and strive to their greatest. I would also like to thank the Office of Warrior Care Policy, which will now become the lead for this event, for facilitating and guiding the partnership between numerous organizations, public and private, and now the torch is symbolically passed to you, Mr. Rodriguez, to carry on the mission of maintaining and enhancing these games. Mr. Rodriguez, you have the complete support of Deloitte to take these games to the next level, and I wanted to let you know that in cooperation with other business partners, Deloitte has initiated a legacy donation campaign with the goal of maintaining Paralympic military programming that has been so important these past several years. But this week really belongs to those athletes sitting in front of us here today. Those who have battled back, those who have trained, those who have struggled to overcome injuries, both physical and emotion, to make it here to Colorado Springs. You have trained well, and I know that you are now ready to compete at the highest level this week on this friendly battlefield. You are the center stage. It is you that we have come here to see this week in Colorado Springs. Now, I know the team competition always receives a lot of publicity, and we certainly value those service branch rivalries. But in years past, it is the individual accomplishments that always seem to shine through for me. It is the individual performances that remain the essence of these games. This year, I suspect it will be no different. There will be an event or two, an individual or two, maybe a handful, whose performances will stand out and touch everyone. I can remember them all these past 5 years. You have given us great memories. To each of the athletes here today, whether your goal was simply to make it here to the Warrior Games, to make it to the end of one lap, to finish your race, or to medal in your event, every single one of you will win. And your amazing story of recovery will continue. As I think back to what Robin Williams said, Carpe Diem, I know that each one of you stands here today ready to seize the moment, to seize the opportunity, to muster that courage, that discipline, that commitment to excellence as you define success here in Colorado Springs. My best wishes to each of you this week. I know you will seize what is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you, Deloitte. When we were asked to create this event, one of the first organizations that stepped up and became a world-class partner of delivering warrior care and sports in the Warrior Games was the USO. It is our honor to invite to the stage the President and CEO of the USO, Mr. J.D. Crouch.
Well, thank you very much. That was a very inspiring walk-in. It's really an honor for me to be here at my first Warrior Games. And as one of the game's original sponsors, the USO is and will continue to be proud to do all we can to make the games a success today, this week, and in the future. It didn't take us long to learn a few things. First, it became clear that injured doesn't mean disabled. We also understand that these games and other adaptive sports programs are simply the next step as you discover that you can do even more than you thought. We know you're all here to win and represent your service, but the victory here is about more than medals. Many of us are watching the Ken Burns compelling story on the Roosevelt family on TV these days. It was FDR who founded the USO in 1941. But it was Teddy Roosevelt who said this: "The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly." You are the women and men in the arena, and whether you win or you lose, you are what counts, for you have truly known the satisfactions of the triumph of high achievement and of daring greatly, no matter the outcome. Charlie, thank you very much for the U.S. Olympic Committee's involvement in these games. Thanks to Mark, the Deloitte team, and of course, thank you, Undersecretary Wright. These games would be just another great idea if it were not for the strong support and the involvement of the Department of Defense. Good luck to the participants, and I look forward to the competition.
Thank you, JD and the USO. It's pretty amazing what our Departments of Defense and the Department of Veteran Affairs, and a quick shout out to Mike Jalukas, who leads adaptive sport for the Department of Veteran Affairs, who's with us today. It's amazing what they do on a daily basis. I tell my team all the time, I mean, what we do is fun. We're in the sports world. Yes, we have good days and bad days, but what the Department of Defense does and what the Department of Veteran Affairs does really matters to all Americans. Our great honor to introduce a champion of what we're doing here, Secretary Jessica Garofalo Wright from the Department of Defense.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you and good afternoon. Clearly, I'm honored to be here today, and I'm representing Secretary Hagel, whose calendar would not allow him to be here today, but he sends his best wishes to all the athletes. I also want to thank the Army Band. It is great to have music, and thank you very much for what you've done for us. And I don't think we have heard such a beautiful rendition of the national anthem. Thank you so very much. You know, through these games we celebrate athletes, the warriors, and we recognize your service and your accomplishments, and we applaud them. Athletes, I will tell you, you inspire me, and you inspire your fellow service members and your families and your friends. And Americans everywhere will use one word, and that's just awesome. You are awesome. Your courage, your strength, and your perseverance, it is awesome. Thank you for your service in uniform to the United States of America. Thank you for your sustained excellence in the face of adversity. You have so much to be proud of. And when you were marching in, I leaned over and I said to the chairman of the USO, you know, it just simply gave me chills to see you march in. To the family and friends of the athletes, I've spoken to several of our athletes, and it comes down to one thing. It comes down to the support that you give them. The support, the love, the motivation that you give them to get them through the very hard times that they have. And you also celebrate the good times, and so I hope there's a lot of meddling going on. I'm an Army guy by trade, but I'm supposed to be joint, so I will be joint today.
Pardon me? I really want to thank the Olympic Committee. Charlie, it has been said before, but it can't be said enough. Thank you. You are a hero in my mind. What you do is so big. Thank you very much for everything that you do. Thank you. Thank you to the sponsors, Deloitte, the USO. Again, thank you very much. We couldn't do this without you. You are partners not only with the U.S. Olympic Committee, but with DOD, and I appreciate your support. And one last group I want to thank. You will walk around and you will see a group of volunteers out there. A lot of them are from Deloitte. A lot of them are from the community. But I want to thank the volunteers because they're giving of their time for us this week, and I appreciate what they do. God bless. God bless each and every one of you, and God bless the United States of America.
Thank you, Secretary Wright. And I want to thank the staff. The USOC staff has worked for months preparing to put on a spectacular show. Secretary Wright, thank you for recognizing the more than 500 volunteers from all over the country, not just from Colorado Springs, that are supporting us this week, including my mother. I have taken one more liberty. My mother worked all week. Thanks, Mom. I think I'm in the doghouse. Hopefully that gets me out of it. But I also want to give a big shout out to the team that has really led some of the efforts on this. Julie O'Neill from the Paralympic staff, Paul Ackerman from the Paralympic staff, Barbara Butler from the Paralympic staff, and my dear friend and colleague who's going to help grow Paralympic sport in the United States and let us win more medals, Mr. Rick Adams. A huge shout out to the USOC team for the hours and hours of work you've been putting in to put on a great Warrior Games show. So before we interactively participate with all the service branches medleys, and everybody will participate, and just a shout out to Rear Admiral Slonson from the Coast Guard. You will hear your anthem today. But the next 6 days, you're going to be inspired and you're going to be overwhelmed. Our vision and General Cheek's vision was never about 6 days in Colorado, though. It's always been about the 359 days around the United States, making sure that young men and women and persons with physical disabilities have the opportunity to play basketball with their friends or ski with their family, or if they have the talent and drive and commitment to want to wear the uniform again and represent the United States at the Paralympic Games, like Army retired Scott Winkler right there. They can do that. This week, we're going to continue to implement General Cheek's vision, and a huge shout out to him. He tried to make it in, but that is what it's about, and that is what our focus is on, is making sure that young men and women, when they return home, and kids with physical disabilities in their communities can participate in sport. Thank you so much. We look forward to an incredible week, and now, if we can, we're going to listen to the medleys. Please join us in song. We'll kick it off with the Army. Next up, the Marines.
Well, that is certainly a sight to behold.
Absolutely, seeing all the songs play and everybody stand up. And did you notice there's like people standing up for other services songs? I thought that was so awesome.
I saw Team Navy standing up for the Marines.
I saw one Air Force guy standing up, just like, you know, all right, I'm not going to stand up, but he did. So.
All right. Well, we have so much coming up this week on Adaptive Warrior. And tonight we have sitting volleyball going on. Round 1 is Air Force versus Army and Navy versus SOCOM. And round 2, we have Air Force versus SOCOM and Marine versus Navy. So tune in tomorrow when we will bring you the scores and a recap of all the events that happened today. So tune in tomorrow, 1500. We will be here live once again at the United States Olympic Training Center.
Absolutely. You guys won't want to miss it. There's a lot of action to be had this week, so take it easy.
All right. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow.
The Coast Guard